including the Vatican, were built on top of a civil temple all the time. And this is why when brothers like that leave, somebody like Malcolm, who find these degrees, and they try to buy them all, and he doesn't take the fish, don't take the hook, they murder him. That's not new. All clear. But the deal is understand that truth is one, it doesn't pass away. So while you're talking, like say we talk amongst each other, if we're at a basketball court or we're down at the restaurant, eating, and we may have a casual conversation, and half the people have different opinions because they have different beliefs. When you go into Privy Council, all of that stuff is out the door. Them rabbis got Korans, Uaspi, the four Vedas, Septuaginta, Hebrew and Latin, etc., Upanishads, the Kybalion, and a whole slew of books. So does the Imam, so does the Master Mason, so do the Reverends, and all of them Masons. All of them got it. They only get divided when they come out amongst their flock so they can rate them and keep them. See, they keep the people divided so that the people don't overthrow them once they find out they're corrupt. But they are corrupt, absolutely, from the top to the bottom. And all the so-called founding fathers, we talk about, the popes of Roman Christianity, all of them got Korans. All of them got Uaspi. All of them got the four Vedas. All of them in secret got Moorish fezzes. Do you understand? From Georgie and all of them. Georgie, that's why you said Lodge in Washington, D.C. with that obelisk. Why do you think that obelisk is there? That certainly ain't the Pope of Rome. That's a monument for Washington. And you got a picture of him on Broad Street in Philadelphia. And what's that? John F. Kennedy Boulevard, Broad and John F. Kennedy. That's John F. Kennedy, right? Boulevard now. And you see him closing the lodge like that with his Masonic regalia and saying, "Whoa, i.e., Hiram ain't dead. They thought y'all was dead. They thought they got everything from you, gonna kill you off, got you buried in the dark north, North America." That's why they refer to themselves as the keepers of the North Gate. But I'm telling you some of these things because if it can stimulate your thinking, you will go back into your mind and pull up stuff that you was either suppressed when you was a child or that you were afraid to think. So we challenge you not to be afraid to think, not to be afraid to dig into your mind and dump emotionalism, dump beliefs and start dealing with facts. But if you have enough facts, you'll figure the priesthood out, you'll figure the politicians out, and you'll recognize that they're partners, and they've been partners, always were. And once you're able in your own mind and heart to be honest with yourself and start shedding them, not because I say so, and not because anyone in this room said, but divine law says so, the cosmic mother, and only then she comes to your aid. You must be pure in heart. As long as you keep on BSing around, Rome is going to take everything you got, and they're going to destroy you in the process too. So you've been warned. I'm just, my issue is this. I know that people got power they don't know they have. But what I'm not going to do is sit around begging them to be honorable. Just go word out there, they can do with it what they want to. Because in fact, the real truth of it is, most of them are going to be sacrificed anyway. Because the most ones that's going to really take anything with this information is usually going to be newborns or little children that ain't corrupted with all these belief systems. If they're not corrupted, it'll speak to their DNA, and their DNA will wake up because it's coded in them anyway. Because it's divine, it has nothing to do with belief systems. Because divine law does not recognize person, their beliefs, these games we've been playing, and this salami baloney we've been doing. Nature don't recognize none of that stuff. I mean, we can have fun doing it, we can dance to sloppy. Remember the slop? Nature don't recognize that stuff. And because the masses don't have religion anymore. But their egos, in their heart, truthfully, people know they're hypocrites. But they have enough hypocrites, other hypocrites around them for everybody to pat each other on the back, make us feel good as soon as we say Jesus, God, Allah, and Moses the Lord, praise the Lord, and peanut butter sandwiches and stuff. And everybody goes, oh yeah, you know, their hearts are dirty, as they can't. That's why they sacrifice their babies to these Romans. They raise their children and send them to war, and then Rome sends them back all drugged up or messed up or broken, and everything they blame the devil, like they usually do. Yeah, they do. Yes, this they do. And what does the record show you? Go to any record in any world records in economic halls of finance. Church is the biggest stockholders in the arsenals of the world. The largest stockholder. Fact. And then they hide behind Jesus while they go to and fro the earth, devouring nations, creating misery. Well, divine law is going to return all their stuff. Whether you support it or not, doesn't matter. Divine law is going to turn their stuff down. You can stop it, but you can be part of it. Because what they're going to do is try to take half y'all down with them anyway. Anybody that's tied to them, going down with them. Not because I say so, and not later. You will see it while you're living, because you're not going to get out of this breath without seeing it. Which means you don't have to wait for the next generations. You're going to live it now. You're already on the path right now, so don't look for it to come. You're in it right now. Our issue is only to try to limit the bleeding, to reduce it, but it's by your will, not by someone else's will, so don't go look for no savior. There ain't no savior coming. Savior is within, savior is yourself. You can decide. Now there's other people who give you other information too, so you're not going to be left without information. But if you have any insight and honesty, you will see what's in the lines and behind the lines and between the lines. Why? Because it's in harmony with your DNA. And if it's not, it's because it don't belong to you. You know what I mean? All right. Now, sister was asking me a question earlier. Get the mic.
You were talking about the T-bonds.
Yes, the Treasury bonds, the U.S. Treasury bonds. Now, this is the basis of
no.
all.
What I wanted to ask is that the situation that's happening in Venezuela?
Is exactly that.
Okay.
Now, Venezuela has been what? They've been building, like many other nation states, their primal, what you would call Treasury reserve. Over 50%, usually over 55% of their Treasury reserve would be in United States corporation dollars. And now, keep in mind, remember when Bush was holding the office, and Chavez came up on the podium at the United Nations, says, "I smell sulfur." How many of y'all remember when Chavez came up there and said, "I smell sulfur"? I see one hand. You know, what he was talking about, it was the satanic greed. So a couple years ago, they killed him, because they killed all of them. And what he did is he nationalized Venezuela. See, because the hedge funds controlled by J.P. Morgan and Sachs and Goldman Sachs, etc. They were logically raping the people just like they do here, because they control it. So he nationalized. So again, he became a target. But the deal of it, what you must understand, little by little, all the nations are starting to turn against them now. And if you're a part of it, you're going down with it. So you have to understand that anything that you're attached to, that's attached to them, is going to fall apart. So the information, it's for you to do the best you can in your reasoning mind to secure yourself as best that you can and secure your families. And if your family is caught up in the spookiness, most of them are not going to listen to you, but understand they will be expended. And I'm not saying that not to love. I'm saying that you better get real about this, because you're dealing with real politics now. They're going to start eliminating people. And the more you understand about what's going on, the more that your vibratory rate will be harmonic with nature, and the more defense you have, which means almost like a shield. It's almost like when you, from a metaphysical point, when the Romans attacked Yahushua and tried to rip his garment, they said they couldn't rip his garment, they tried to share it with each other. That's what that really means. That they can't really get in unless you allow them to. We're talking real metaphysical, spiritual truth now. So that's your strength. Your strength is not no dollar because you don't have no dollar. That's number one. Your strength is not weaponry because you ain't got weaponry. And what you got, your pea shooters, they're going to try to take them too to reduce the resistance. Because they are going to be eliminating people. Let's be blunt about this. The issue is, you know, where you are. And I'm not going to present to you some old spooky idea that you pray twice and you will be saved type stuff. No. No, it's not going to be like that. You have to depend on the cosmic mother to have mercy on you. You know, and your energy. Because actually, even with the animals are even going to turn on them. Yes, even the animals are going to start turning on them. And don't look for it later. Start paying attention around you right now. Because you're living in the entry of Aquarius, and it casts no shadows. So anything that's not built on love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must come down and will come down. That's not a promise. That is a present. So don't look for it, just observe it. Meanwhile, prepare yourself. Now, I also say this, try to keep some clean water around in some containers that like an emergency, that you can have at least drinking water. All right? And those of you who know how to get water from nature, go ahead and look at that, because they're already starving you. So it's not that they're going to starve you. They're already starving you. You know how, like, you go in our neighborhoods and you see how so many of our people are overweight? Most people look at them and would say they eat too much, right? People who really know what's happening know that they're actually starving. They're actually starving. Yes. The body's building fat because it doesn't have nutrients. So two things that take place. It makes them unattractive, which attacks the genetic code, right? And it creates the sicknesses, which feeds the military medical complex. That's a military operation. Fact. All right, now this is known, any scholar knows this stuff. But the deal is, they can only get away with this stuff because the common people usually aren't up on this kind of information. Are we clear? And so it's sort of like they get over because the masses are dumb. And then the masses feed into the culture because they believe in it. Are we clear? Now, with the T-bonds, keep in mind, with the Civil War, one of the major motives of the Civil War was to convert the estates of the Moors onto the operations of the hegemony operations of Unum Sanctum. And this is what the Federal Reserve and the IRS was set up for. IRS is actually a bookkeeping operation for Westminster District of London as the middle charge to the Bishopric of Rome. And this is why you got those three stars on that banner in Washington, D.C. You know what? I was thinking of all this time when we were dealing with this war, fighting that war, remember? Plastic on it. Alcohol, suds, and everything else with it. Now, those of you who know, and I'll go into the lesson book and show you George Washington's shield. But you'll see this. That's the Vatican. That's London. Washington is the district. And that's what you're actually dealing with. And it's known by all politicians, all PhDs, all Masons, all Eastern Stars, etc. Y'all been serving Rome thinking you're serving Jesus. That's why you've been catching hell. However, because they're under pressure, they're going to liquidate your estates faster than they were already liquidating your estates. Are we clear? This is where your economic pressures are coming from, and the massive foreclosures that you see taking place all around the country. Which all of you all already know. The operation is called conversion. And of course, you'll see it like this on the parkway, or on the tags, or on a banner. And that's what you'll see. You go to Washington, D.C., you see that on the tags, you see that flying, you see it on 18th Street in the Parkway, Philadelphia, etc. Or your major big-time churches. All right, so that's the Vatican, London, and more specifically, Westminster, District of London. Are we clear? Now, understanding and knowing what you're suffering from gives you kind of a heads up in energy. You know how they say, if the dog barks and bites you, you don't go on the neighbor's porch and kick the cat. Our people are known for doing that. European Romans have been screwing them, suffering them, lynching them, and they've been marching around, burning up everybody else's stuff. You get the point? They don't have the courage to face the one that really does anything to them, so we don't have to argue about whether or not they're honest. But understand, nature does not forgive you for that. You don't go punch your neighbor in the face because some guy came down the street and robbed you, and you want to take it out on your neighbor because you ain't got the courage to punch the guy down the street who really robbed you. And so when it comes to Rome doing stuff to our people and in our communities, they always go destroy other people's stuff. But they sit and watch gangs of New York murder people in the street and do nothing. They watch magistrates pretend to be judges and pack the jails with men and women, and they do nothing. Never even read the Constitution. Then when now the man's coming to liquidate their properties and everything, now everybody's interested. Get the point? Sort of like the chickens on a rotisserie. They thought they were going to come around. Now Rome is under pressure. He's trying to liquidate everybody's estate. But what you must get through your head is that he's not lawful. Are we clear? You got to get it out of your head that his claim is lawful. He's operating under color. Are we clear? But you must know that. But if he can get you to keep talking colored, then that gives him mandate. This is what you must understand. If you call him white man, you just call him sovereign. So you just sanctioned his activity. If you call him American, you just sanctioned his activity. Are we clear? You call yourself black, you just sanctioned his activity. You call him judge when he's really administrator, private administrator, he's a clerk. You just empowered him. You call him officer, you just empowered him, you just authorized him. All right? It's not because I say so, you need to understand that the power is with you. So you must stop practicing those names and principles that delude to slavery and then complaining about the slavery. Because we're the ones that keep on practicing that. These people know that they're European colonists, and then they turn and call them American, then he uses that top sovereign power to steal your stuff. Then you want to get mad and march all over the place, disturbing the peace. When you should have been enforcing the Constitution like the prophet told you 70 years ago, we wouldn't be in this shape. We're in this shape because those before us didn't enforce that Constitution. Now the world's being pressured to do it, and everybody's on a crash course when they haven't studied. You know what I mean? Rome is kicking their training wheels while they're trying to ride around the racetrack. That's really what's happening. You need to understand what's really happening to us. But the more of you that are conscious, the more of you that are actively thinking, the less power Rome has. Because he's a vampire. He can only live off your energy. He can only operate off your energy. In other words, he's empowered because our people keep believing in him. And that's the truth. His middleman is them houses every 4 blocks in every poor community that they keep lying and say belong to Jesus. This is why this is the source of their power. It's sort of like Satan is right where the people thought he wasn't. That's the whole secret. In plain sight. Hidden in plain sight. This is why the European even plays with these people. Because every time we show you a vampire movie, or Dracula or something like that, where are they always living? He's either upstairs in the steeple or in the basement of one of them houses that they keep accusing belong to God. People leaning on the altar, and the statues start bleeding in the eyes and getting wings and stuff, and windows get dark and they try to leave, so it's time to lunchtime, the doors locked and all that kind of stuff, winds start blowing. The statue, I thought that was Jesus-ness. And he start getting dark wings and stuff and doing stuff to you. These Europeans, it's a movie, but the European actually telling you the truth. See, that takes the karmic debt off of him. See, if he tell you what he's going to do to you, then do it. It's kind of a, see, because his major issue is to deceive you to violate law, then he just stands nearby to eat the spoils. It's sort of like a jackal does. Now, jackal, you all study jackals, study wildlife. Jackals will look for weak animals or kill that some other animal did, steal it, and bury it, let it rot, and then come back later and eat it. That's how they get their nourishment. And the only time they'll eat usually, or fresh kill, is when there's a lot of competition around. But generally they won't, they will bury it and let it rot. That's how they get their nourishment. This is again why they use the head of a jackal on the Venus star, but they'll turn the Venus star upside down, which means the lower gate, or the lower self. That's what that symbolizes. And then when it's on a positive, say like Eastern Star, then it's upright, and then they'll have Ruth and other matrons that have done positive things in it. So it's always dealing with positive and negative forces. That's what they're simply dealing with. Let me go into a few other things. I want to share this to remind you all Now, we usually, in the secret treaty of Verona, we'll usually go to number 3, but you all have this on your flash drive. But I want to go to number 1 and see what you're suffering right now, right? Now, remember we read the divine warning by the prophet for the nations, right? Now, you see this date? Is that 1916? You see that 1778, 1884, American Diplomatic Code? Think, Berlin Conference. Now, this is all your politicians of your major European nations met. Are we clear? This is their operation secretly. The high contracting powers being convinced that the system of representative government is equally as incompatible with the monarchical principles as the maxim of the sovereignty of the people with the divine right, engaged mutually in the most solemn manner to use all that their efforts to put an end to the system of representative governments in whatever country it may exist in Europe, and to prevent it being introduced in those countries where it is not yet known. That's the principle where they're going to and fro the earth, devouring all republics. Now you understand that why they undermined the republic and they set up the U.S. democracy, and you understand the operations of the U.S. democracy, operations of 1871, which is called Act of Congress 1871. See? So if you read the divine warning for the prophet and then start doing research, it will lead you to these other things, and you'll see the politics, and you will not be blinded by what they do, but you will also be prepared because you already know what their motives are. You already know they're operating, and this is basically the fundamental would give you an outline of protocol, of response to them, or rebuttal to them, or any estoppel in relationship to any claim that they may make. Not learning while they're beating you up, but that should have been of your culture in the first place, and you should have been well prepared. And this is why Noble Drawley set up the Moorish Science Stuff of America, so that you would have been prepared. But it's also why it was infiltrated to what? To undermine the operations. Which is again why most of us are in venues like this, like Dr. Nyla, supply a venue where this information can be given freely, because it's suppressed in other venues. Why? Because many people are guilty of denying that Noble Drawley taught civics. They're guilty of suppressing the knowledge necessary to make our people better citizens of their own nation state. And that's called civics. And as you can see, the very heart of the divine warning by the prophet for the nations is what? The enforcement of the Constitution. His appeal to us and all other true Americans is to enforce that Constitution. And as you can see here in Article 1 of the Secret Treaty of Verona, which is operational, their mission is to overthrow the republics. And this is why you're suffering today. Are we clear? So if you, and that's a plural you, have not been working towards the enforcement of that Constitution and have been suffering Rome convert, and you've been consenting unknowingly. However, this is a not unknown equation. This is a known equation. I'm just bringing it to your attention that you might take responsibility. Because where your mind and your heart is, so will the energy pour. Because, you know, it's sort of like this. It's kind of hard for germs to live in soap. You wash the counter, there's still some germs there, but they ain't happy. Likewise, the more honorable you are to principles, the less Rome is able to do. This is again why when we're teaching you or talking to you about writing writs, that certain statements are made. Because what you're doing, you're closing doors of a futile operation. Because what you're dealing with, this is exactly what you're, this is not conjecture, this is exactly what you're dealing with. When Obama went to Egypt and exposed that the American Constitution comes from Muslim law, he was talking about the enforcement of the Constitution. That's the Republic, and he said he needed all your help. Then he went to Egypt, showed you the true American flag. That's allodial law, allodial. What's been operating that's been giving you hell ain't racism, it's feudal law. It's not an attitude. It's not liking your skin, it's not feeling better. It's feudal law, that's what you're operating under right now. And the feudalists are stealing all your estates. That's why the US democracy was set up. This Muslim law or United States Republic Constitution. US democracy. They're two different platforms, but they're both operating here. You've been overthrown. Get it through your head. Get off your ego, humble yourself, and respect what happened to you. And do something about it. You can choose not to. But remember, it's suggested to you. You can do with this whatever you please. But you're not going to say that you weren't told. Because things are accelerating. And we don't have time to be having bedside conversations all night. No, I'm serious. You gotta start thinking for yourself, and you gotta start being active because they're accelerating. And a lot of people are going to get injured while they're accelerating. But you need to be aware of what they're doing. See, because you can counter it just by thought. Not just by what you do, but your thought is more powerful than you think it is. That's all I'm appealing to you. Stop underestimating your thought. Stop underestimating your will to do, your will to be, your will to say, so mote it be.
Islam.
And the more, if you want to help yourself, teach someone who doesn't know this. That's where your power is. You're not going to have this cup of coffee by yourself. Because the birthright belongs to every man, every woman, every child. If you don't confess your own, don't expect that Rome is not going to do what? Convert, because that's what he's doing. He's converting anything that's not claimed translation, whether it's abstract or physical. If it ain't nailed down, they're stealing it. And how do they steal that which they can't carry? It's called hypothecation. Write that down. Get used to it. Write that down, hypothecation, H-Y. Because these are the things that are actually going on. See, so whenever you're dealing with any of them, all of these things must be in the canvas of your mind. Automatic. No different than you playing basketball. You know, dribbling must become automatic. Let me see, should I do it? No, it's got to be natural. It's got to flow with it. Might not be able to shoot good, but it's dribbling. Missed that one. But understand, and this is really serious, you know, because this is the real politics. This is what's really happening. And this is not just for the sake of information. This is for the sake, because this is presently operative. It's what's been happening to you, and this is what's being reinforced. And therefore your suffering is going to increase. Are we clear? Economically and politically. Nobody's going to try to destroy you because they know they're being taken out. Are we clear? Part of it is anger, part of it is jealousy, part of it is bitterness because they've been enjoying this throne that they've unjustly been sitting on for so many generations. So they don't want the heir to have it. But get the mic here, brother.
Peaceful.
Great, bro. Please.
There have been a lot of changes that have been happening within the Federal Reserve System, and it's coming to light that there are TDA accounts.
Say, speak louder in the mic.
There are TDA accounts that are associated with the...
Now explain to the people what the TDA accounts are.
So TDA accounts...
remove the acronym and explain what it is. Go ahead.
I believe it stands for Trust Depository Account.
Of course, now say that.
Yes, so these accounts, when you're born, we were born into slavery, and our birth certificate is what allowed.
It's not your birth certificate. Now, let's back up. Back up. Now, and this is what you want to do, because you're correct, but you want to not project into the ethers possessive, because it's not your birth certificate. Those are banknotes made by them and placed against your trust. They're not yours. Okay. And you will never capture them. Just keep that in mind. Because those who are waking up to this, other charlatans are trying to sell them processes of capturing that which they cannot capture. It's a promise though. So whenever you say possessive, you take the burden of the debt. Because the whole thing is about conversion. And you got to remember when Franklin Delano Roosevelt used the birth certificate as bank bonds, that's because the United States Corporation was broke again. And this is the corporation papers I showed you all, that I shared with y'all. Every once in a while, I give you those corporate papers of the United States, 1925. All right, so 1925, Raleigh set the old Canaanite temple as the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, and he registered it as a civic organization. Counter move. It bankrupted them again. You get the point? Although in history, they'll tell you other things about the bankers and other things, but when it really boils down, it ain't money, it's not the gold and the silver, it's the heirship. It's the trust. It's them trust accounts. What are those trust accounts? They're tied, they're Cetus trusts. Come on. They're tied to the global estate trust set up by the popes of Rome when they defeated the Moors, i.e. when they overcame the Red House. Alhambra, 1492. That's why it's used as an axis year, although it was centuries later when the complete fall, meaning that's an axis year. But that's why that's there. Don't never say my license under the feudal law operations, because you've accepted the debt. Don't say my birth certificate, it ain't yours. Did your mother produce that?
Yes, she did not.
Did your mother send that to the DDC in New York? On Water Street?
No.
Did your mother declare the bank bond that she sold her babies to Rome?
No.
Did she declare for the public record and on bonds that she sold the eggs to her womb of her fallopian tube left and right, born and unborn, to the postal Rome to support the United States Corporation debt that Lincoln bankrupted in 1860?
No, she did not.
Well, how you gonna say my birth certificate? Do you understand the spirit that's on that?
Yes.
Semantics. They will use it. Understand when you say it, you're on the right path, but at that point you've accepted the debt and killed your own argument. You need to know that, and anyone that speaks on that, stop saying my. Now back up and choose better words.
So the birth
certificate of the United States Corporation franchise state. What particular state operators? Jersey, well, Delaware. What state territory that's controlling your estate?
Delaware.
All right. So you would say. Come on. The Attorney General, holder of alien properties, supported by the CEO, and that would be whoever their governor is. The Cetus Trust certificate placed against my estate designated a birth certificate. Then wordy, but guess what? As soon as you say mine, you've killed all the rest of the salvation you got. Because it's not yours. All right?
Thank you.
Another point. What songs do you like? Like Michael Jackson?
Like Michael Jackson.
You sing every of his songs?
I can't sing all his songs on the wall.
And you kicking all that stuff?
I do a spin every once in a while.
You moonwalk?
No, not
Did you ever think about copyrighting one of his songs since you decided you like it?
No.
Why?
It's not my song.
Well, is that your birth certificate?
No.
Well, guess what happens when you try to claim it? It's copyright infringement. You see the game they've been playing on people? I want to get you to think. Now back up and continue your conversation. I'm not going to break you down. Just continue. I just want you to think, because you got to think contract law, beneficiary versus trustee,
Right.
because at any point that you are bridged, your argument is dead, even though we know where you're going with it.
So, actually, let me back up and ask.
Yeah, you're thinking now. I smell smoke. That's all right.
Good question. So,
Talk about
my
it, man.
understanding of it, or understanding of it, was that the individual who assumed the straw man was the principal beneficiary of the account that was indexed to the Social Security number.
All right, now let's back up. What persons have you talked to, or that any one of us can say, and you know, anyone, feel free to interject, your family members that assumed that birth certificate and has been going into that Cedars Trust, and therefore all of their account notices, which have been called bills, were discharged by them or sent off to the United States Service Corporation.
Whoa,
Tell me
Judge.
who's done it. No, they have not.
Nobody's no rich.
Is it the common practice? All right. When last time there was a notice sent to your house called electric bill or some kind of tax bill, any type, water bill,
Yesterday.
whatever they said? That was a statement of account. That wasn't a bill. It was a coupon. Did somebody tell you to take that CUSIC number off that Social Security instrument that they issued to you, that it was to be discharged against the United States Corporation because it's their debt, not yours? Therefore, that statement is false. I know where you're going with it, but that's an assumption because they've been putting that out there because somebody saw somebody a package with some process. What I'm trying to present to you is you're on the path of the knowledge of what they've been doing, but your language creates liability.
Come on,
And you
teach.
got to recognize it. All right? Because you're talking about contract law, and you're talking about hereditaments. You're talking trustee, beneficiary. Then you're talking conversion. Therefore, you're talking layering. That means for every instrument that's out there, you may have multiple people who are claiming right of that estate. That's why bankers have been getting wealthy. That's why these politicians have been getting wealthy. There's all these big-time preachers got all these big-time churches getting wealthy, going in and out of that Sister Q Cedars Trust with a name that sounds like yours, his, hers, his, mine. This is what the bureaucratized slavery is. Now you tell this audience who you know have been told from day one, your mom included, that she ain't been getting no bills, they were all statements of account.
Nobody.
Oh, well, then don't make that statement then. I know people are saying that. It's operational. But understand, at what point they had ever told you that, the crack would have collapsed then, a long time ago. And Europeans would have been packing their bags going back to England, Ireland, Germany, and France. Because they're not home. You are. Are we clear?
Yes.
Now, let's go back up. We think, I'm not dissuading where you're going with it, because you're on point.
All right.
What I'm trying to present to you, this is so others can learn.
Right.
Thank you for helping me clarify.
Yes.
You, being a true heir who has been buried,
Yes.
are learning some of the truth from some Europeans, middle class, whose estates are being dissolved. They want the republic back, and they're making a claim of the American right of law, but they are not Americans.
Come on.
And you're using their language. It's not that you can't study it, because they're being forced to tell the truth. But you got to know how to separate the wheat from the chaff.
Come on.
Are we clear? Because soon as you step on the wrong side, You just took the noose back off his head. Because every man and every woman and even the children must confess their own. Even children aren't excused. Because it's spirit. And it has no age. The sooner you figure that out, the sooner you go back into your throat and correct them words. We speak. Go ahead. Talk to us.
The Treasury Deposit Account
Belonging to what persons or entities?
belonging to the United States Corporation, of which the governor of the state of Delaware is serving as an agent.
Now you talking. Keep on talking.
That account, which is indexed to the SESQT trust that my mother signed me up for.
She did not.
Unknowingly.
Unknowingly.
Well, you didn't say that. That's why I told you go back. See, because understand this, and this is where we're going. We're here in the House of Reawakening Minds.
Yes.
We're bathing.
Thank you.
Dr. Naila brought us all here for baptism.
Well,
You're being reborn with a new mind. You better be careful what you say. First there was a word. And the word was with God. And the word was God. You better watch your words. Because they're not playing. Because every time you slip up, they'll punch you in your eye.
that's right.
That's what they're there for. The U.S. democracy feudal order operations was put in place to steal your birthright. It's not accidental mistake. It's not accidental oversight. It's not accidental just the clerk or the judge is corrupt. The whole platform is corrupt from the core by design. Now, you can't serve two masters. I ask you which side you on. Or which side you trying to get on.
Melodial.
Because if you're trying to be a lodial, and you start talking those feudal instruments as and my mother sold me, well, the argument's over. Your mom sold you, and then what you talking about? You're admitting the Christian black code, so then you come under them. In other words, involuntary servitude is unlawful. But it's a lot of volunteers. They agree to be black, they want their property. But they don't like the black codes. Then they want to march all around the place, talk about they're unfair, they don't like my color. They agree to be black. That's what the Christian black codes are for black people. It's not who they are, that's who they agree to be.
God have mercy.
Didn't the divine warning the prophet tell you stop practicing them words, names, and principles that delude to slavery? And you want to march all over the place and complain? He told you what was going to happen. Now we're dealing with it. The deal of it is, it's not, the doo-doo ain't hitting the fan.
All right.
If you notice the blades are brown already,
Yeah.
and they ain't polka dot. And it's still coming through.
Yeah.
That's the real deal. And this is what's getting people awake. And much of what you're hearing is coming from middle-class Europeans, different sovereignty groups who are trying to get back to the republic, but they understand in truth that when they breached that constitution and treaty in force, that their position was juristic.
Teach on jurisdiction.
Yours is bloodline, birthright. They're two different venues. I want you all to write this down. I want you to look this up in your law book. Nationalization, we say nationalize, right? You know, you hear people talking about getting nationalized, right? So let's look what natural lies is. Brother, you got a Black's Law Dictionary.
Right.
Get the mic, get the brother mic. I want you to read natural lies. Distinguished from nationalized. Get the mic. I want you to read national, and don't go into the law case, just go into the substance of it. And I want you to hear this because you need to understand that although you're dealing with what you call rights and privileges, etc., they are limited and they're qualified, which means a Russian can go in Russia and talk about sovereignty. A Chinese can go into Russia and have all the privileges and rights afforded to him or her under naturalization. But any abridgment, they can be removed because he's not the national of the land. Are we clear? This is why the Europeans start talking this, we all Americans, just different color type stuff, so you fall into that stupid stuff and you just gave up your birthright. He's not American, he's European.
You like natural or
Naturalized.
natural?
Naturalized.
Natural.
You must know, in other words like this, our people in relationship to their obligation to enforce that Constitution, clearly when they start talking, they're talking feudal while trying to make an allodial argument. They're mixing the language.
Here we go, Tom.
Go ahead, read it. Can't hear you. Go ahead.
To confer, naturalize, to confer citizenship upon an ally, to
An
make
alien.
an alien. to
Stop
make-
right there. So that's conferred citizenship, so that means the rights and the privileges and immunities are what? Conferred. In other words, they do not exist with them without a legislation operation. It's an in-legislative operation, are we clear? So it's litigated, isn't it? What is that distinguished from unalienable right? An unalienable right cannot be what? Transferred or sold.
Bought or transferred.
So an unalienable right is related to a birthright, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you understand why they don't want you to understand nationality? Because they want you to forget your bloodline. So they can make your right and citizenship platform a 14th Amendment legislative, removable, adjustable, dissolvable privilege, subject to abuse. That's what Drawley warned you about. That's why I say go back to the state of mind of your ancient mothers and fathers. But as soon as you do, you'll find this stuff out. Divine warning by the prophet of the nations. You're living it right now. The reason I read it because I wanted you to recognize it yourself, not because I said so. I'm pointing it out because I want to share with you the consciousness of paying attention to details and the importance of it. Not because I say so, because you need to understand it. Because if I was in opposition, as soon as you slipped up, I would have defeated your argument. I'm supporting, so I'm trying to bring out where you're going. But if I was in opposition, I'd let you say everything you say and then crush it. Without telling you where your weakness is. This is what Europeans do to us every day.
Yes.
That's what barristers do to our people. It's called a barratry argument. Write that down. B-A-R-R-A-T-R-Y. Barratry. And the spurious arguments which are made under the straw, man of straw, transmitting utility, non de guerre, are all barratry arguments. It's not opinion, that's what operates. That's what's going on. That's what the feudal law, U.S. democracy platform was set up in 1871 for. And all persons that are employees of it are trained accordingly in unum sanctum policy. Not attitude, unum sanctum policy, that's their logbook. That's why everybody that's in position of power must be a Mason. Because you have to be availed information that the masses don't have. It's perfect counsel. The information is not bad. The information is positive. But it can be used good or bad, can it? You know, we go swimming in a nice pool, we go swimming in the ocean, can't we? We can drown in a cup of water. You need to understand that. And these people ain't playing with our people. They want to eliminate the heirs so they can claim the land. And our people keep practicing those things that keep allowing him the abridgments. Because one, they can't read, and two, they've been dealing with beliefs and not facts by training. And they refuse to render unto Caesar the dogma system that he gave it to them because they keep lying and say Jesus gave it to them, or Allah gave it to them. This is where our problem is. Are we clear? And the Pope of Rome gave it to you. These people claim to be worshiping Jesus, they worshiping Constantine. That's why they catching hell. And you try to tell them, you can show them the record. And they'll look at you like your head screwed on backwards. Meanwhile, the world moves on. You gotta understand, the world moves on. They keep waiting for us. We're given a chance. The world ain't gonna keep waiting on us. And we're already at that stage where the world's no longer waiting on us. The issue is that so many of our people are asleep that this stuff is getting ready to get very bloody and chaotic and really horribly ugly. And so if there's any good that's left, reach for it. But understand that half this stuff's going to be going anyway.
In order to prevent such negative potentiality.
That's where will comes in. That's where your willpower comes in. You know, you put it in simple terms. You know what we talked about before? Everybody been claiming their gods and Jesuses and Allahs and Moses and Muhammad and Buddhas and everything. This is what is suggested to every man, woman, and child right now. You better call your God yesterday and hope he ain't running. That's where you are right now. And if he's real, he better step up. And the ones that ain't stepping up, that's your first proof that they fake. Are we clear? And that's not meant for an insult. That's meant because that's the reality of what you're facing right now. Which means all the fiction that people have been putting their energy in, every breathing being on this planet is going to be forced in this present time to prove their God claims. That's one of the first things that's on the spiritual table right now. You've been claiming to God? Call him. Not because I said so, but you're going to discover you're going to need to call him. If he don't answer, you better dump him, you better find out what's real.
Islam.
But Rome is accelerating conversion. You know what's like right now? Everybody on the diving board, they've been taught about they could dive. Right? What they don't know right now is anybody walking on that board, they're going to jump in that pool whether it's got water in it or whether it's dry. Because right now they're going to get pushed whether they decide to, because that's how nature's going right now. In other words, nature is you know, it's like this. You know how like when you read a chart and you look at the different energies that women bring beings here on the earth, and you can look at